Inside the walls of Brickwater Prison, danger doesn't always come from the obvious. Tonight, one black woman cop is about to face the kind of ambush that would have broken most officers, but she isn't like most. She's deadlier than they ever imagined. But before we dive in, where in the world are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's explosive continuation of this story. The siren's pitch wobbled as if the prison itself had lost confidence. Officer Naomi Kareem paused on the catwalk over Brickwater's yard, palm at her radio, reading the silence below. Count was late. The Tower 4 camera lamp was dead. Inmates formed conversational knots that didn't look casual. Chalked hopscotch squares ended in a crude crown, and the word family. Kilo 7, Yard 2, Naomi said. Missed count. Comms unstable. Confirm. Static. A chopped syllable. Nothing. The north door opened, and Officer Pritchard pushed a maintenance cart across the yard. Normally he whistled. Today his mouth was a flat line, and his left glove bulged with tape. Naomi took the stair, boots loud on steel. Pritchard, she called. Eyes. He didn't meet them. He angled toward the mechanical room under Tower 4. Radio? Broke. Who broke it? He glanced past her to the parallel stairs. Baines shadowed her descent, grin like a dare. Naomi didn't turn. She counted faces. Torres, Little Floyd, and at the center, Duke Harrow, tall, unhurried, a chess player watching a clock. What's in the cart, she asked. Tools. Open it. He peeled the canvas. Coiled wire, bolt cutter, spare gearbox, an orange sweatshirt still warm. Naomi touched it with her baton and lifted his taped glove. Underneath, 3 purple welts marked his palm, a Prod's brand, family, pressed into skin. You're with me, she said. We'll make the drop. We will, she repeated, because refusing would let strangers write the ending. They descended together. Baines matched them, enjoying it. On the ground the chill bit. Naomi breathed slow while her eyes measured angles, distances, hands, baton holstered, taser ready, tone calm. Duke peeled forward, a tide without hurry. Officer Kareem, he said. Gate 4 sticky. We wouldn't want a safety issue. Maintenance is on it, Naomi said, steering the cart. Clear a lane. He shifted just enough to call it courtesy, his shoulder grazing Pritchard's sleeve. The crowd's eyes pulled at Naomi like fishhooks. She let them snag and slide free. At the mechanical room door, Naomi badged the reader. Dead. She spun the manual wheel with deliberate patience, letting watchers see nothing rushed her. Fans hummed. Cabinets lined the wall. The Yard 2 trunk box waited like a spine. Cart here, she said. Then behind me. Pritchard obeyed too fast. Naomi lifted the sweatshirt and found the real cargo. Taped battery, loose fuses, a scribbled note, cut red, feed black, on whistle. Not refined. Effective. She folded the note into her palm. Bootsteps filled the doorway. Baines leaned in with 2 helpers. Need a hand? Sure, Naomi said. Gearbox is heavy. Don't drop your ego. They chuckled. Naomi watched wrists, sleeves, stances. The toothbrush shiv under Baines's gauze was textbook. Pritchard, she said. Continuity. He found the multimeter and touched leads where she pointed. Live power. Good. She needed the system awake. Duke rolled a screwdriver against his knuckles. Working or performing? Both, Naomi said. She moved with economy. Battery up. Fuse coupler pinched. Test posts bridged. A quick dip that made yard lights stutter. Locks thunk. Heartbeats forget a beat before settling. Recognition flickered in Duke's eyes. What did you do? Baines asked. Reminded the spine who its head is, she said. The whistle blew early. Metal clanged above, then the wrong kind of quiet. Naomi nodded at Pritchard. Buy me 10 seconds. How? Tell a joke. He croaked. Why did the electrician dump his girlfriend? She couldn't resist her. Groans. Heads turned. 10 seconds. Naomi spent them well. She rerouted the device, bridging a harmless alarm loop that would scream and flash while keeping every lock hard. Tape smooth, wires tucked, sweatshirt back in place. All set, she said. All ready? Baines said. Professionals move fast, she answered. The siren began a hollow bleat. Gates stayed shut. Yard doors refused to budge. Confusion bloomed outside. Naomi watched Duke. Behind his calm, new math turned there. Interesting, he said. Sticky gate, she replied. Takes patience. The first lunge came from behind Duke. Little Floyd flicked steel from a Bible spine and slashed for Naomi's forearm. She pivoted, caught his wrist, and bumped him into a cabinet hard enough to steal breath without stealing function. The razor clattered. Baines stepped in, forearm high. Naomi slipped inside, tapped the taser to his ribs for a single snap, and guided him down like she was laying a plank. Enough, Duke said, quiet, commanding. Naomi's stance settled, feet light, chin level. The alarm bleated. Dust turned in the fan wash. Round 1, Duke said. I see you. Good, Naomi said. Now choose what you want to see next. He studied her, then flicked his screwdriver onto the cart like a thought. Family like stories. They planned one. You just edited. I corrected spelling, she said. A distant thud reverberated. A door tested itself and failed. Voices swelled and ebbed. Naomi spoke for Pritchard alone. When I move, she murmured. Step left. Hug the wall. Baines groaned, waking. Little Floyd wheezed. Duke did not blink. You from where? He asked. Harborview, she said. Water City, he mused. People there learn currents. Or drown, she said. He smiled, small. You treat this place like water. Then stop trying to light matches in it, she said. He rolled a shoulder once. Family doesn't need fire to cook. Pressure works. He glanced at Pritchard. Right? Pritchard flinched, then steadied. I messed up, he whispered. You're still breathing, Naomi said. Fix the next thing. A sharper clang rattled the ceiling. Men in the yard drifted toward Tower 4's base. Naomi lifted the cart's handle. Time to service that sticky gate, she said lightly. Baines wiped his mouth. We ain't done. Naomi's reply was even. We're not even started. She rolled the cart forward. Duke let the space decide whose it was. The alarm bleated. Feet asked questions outside. Naomi passed within an arm's length of him and felt the tempo change like a current sliding under a boat. Pritchard stepped left and hugged the wall. Naomi pushed the maintenance cart into the service corridor, where cinder blocks swallowed sound and the alarm's bleat came back thin. Fluorescence jittered toward gate 4. Pritchard hovered half a step behind her left shoulder, shrinking into his shirt. Duke sauntered 2 lengths back as if he owned the hall. Baines came last, rubbing the spot the taser had kissed. Eyes front, Naomi said. Hands high. Baines fanned his fingers. Just sightseeing. Then enjoy the view of exits, she replied. Right led to gate 4's cabinet. Left bent toward laundry, steam tunnels, and a blind stair. Naomi rolled right, wide of the wall, counting vents like a swimmer ticking strokes. A black camera dome watched with its indicator dark. The trunk still fed its view. A yellow mop bucket sat dead center, full to the lip. An abandoned squeegee lay beside it. Naomi angled the cart. Bubbles wore a thin skin. Bleach tickled the air. Keep left, she said. They slid past. As the rear wheel cleared, a thin wire under the handle tightened, tugging a hinge pin hidden low in the jamb. Something clacked. A ceiling tile dropped. A sack of soap powder burst, turning the corridor into gray foam. Baines laughed. Slippery. Naomi didn't look. She nudged the cart into the suds and felt grit under the paste. Someone had mixed in sand after her reroute froze the locks. Shoes off, she told Pritchard. Socks on. He obeyed. She slid from her boots too. Stockinged feet gripped better. Baines tried, and nearly toppled. Naomi used the cart as a keel, and pushed through. Through square glass, gate 4 waited. Bars, hydraulic ram, sensor plate, manual chain. A shadow moved beyond and vanished. She parked parallel to the cabinet, opened it with tower keys, and read the chalk scrawl a bored tech had left. Please do not break. I like weekends. From laundry a rhythm rose. Slap, drag, clank, the hush of wheels wrapped in towels. Men beat time when they needed courage to agree with their choices. The tempo said someone had a metronome in his head and a plan in his pocket. Naomi loosened a blower shroud and twisted a test valve a quarter turn. The pump coughed. She let the alarm howl louder, lights stuttering to confuse distance. Duke stopped 2 paces back, studying her hands. You're not opening it, he said. I'm keeping it from opening by accident, she answered. A closed system behaves. An excited one shows off. He smiled without warmth. You talk like a chief. I talk like someone who wants to go home upright. Pritchard hovered. What do you need? The torques, she said. Then, and courage. He found the bits. She cracked the secondary cover, bridged the pressure sensor to the alarm, and whispered a lie to the hydraulic brain. Any manual yank would read catastrophic overpressure and force the ram to retract into a locked hard stop. From the far side, a pull would give drama and a stubborn gate. The corridor beat grew louder. Baines rolled his neck. You gonna play defense all shift? I'm going to teach compliance. She relaced her boots and handed Pritchard a coil of orange twine. Drop line. Under the cart, up over the door handle, back to your wrist. If I pull, you come. If they pull, you let go. He nodded, throat shiny with sweat. Baines, she said, bite the wire off that hinge and hand me the fishing line you pretended not to notice." He grinned, then surrendered 2 feet of 60-pound test. Naomi tied it to the blower drain and ran it to an angle bracket. A tug would spill condensate, throw reflections, and steal confidence. Footfalls reached the bend. 3 men, maybe 4. One breathed through his mouth. Metal tapped tile every 5th step. Naomi tugged the line. Water hissed onto suds. The first man rounded fast, expecting surprise, finding choreography. He swung a bar at where her head seemed in the mirrored floor. She stepped inside the arc, rode the bar like a handrail, bumped his shoulder, and sent him face first into cinder block. The second stabbed with a plastic shank taped to his palm. She snared his wrist, turned the joint, and fed his hand into the cart frame until he dropped the weapon with a dog whine. The third hesitated. Baines wagged the mop handle. "Family meetings down the hall." "Shut up," the third spat, then charged. Naomi let the cart absorb the strike, planted her boot on the lower frame to lever it upward, and dropped it across his shoulders like a tidy anvil. His knees surrendered. Duke didn't move. He watched like a man memorizing a coastline. "Names," Naomi said. Silence. "Then hear this," she said. "Gate 4 is stubborn. The yard is locked. Tower sees you. Every swing buys bruises and paperwork. The first person who stops acting clever walks back breathing." "Or what?" the bar carrier groaned. "Or you keep auditioning for a play that isn't casting." The mouth breather tried a pocket pull. A folded square of foil slid out, homemade flash charge, messy and ambitious. She nudged it away with her boot. Duke advanced 1 pace. "The kitchen doesn't care about speeches," he said. "When trays roll, this corridor becomes a river. You can dam a river for a minute. You can't stop an ocean. I'll cut a channel. And where does it lead? Not where you expect." He laughed once, low. "We'll see." The tray carts arrived on cue, lids rattling. 2 trustees pushed, small, focused. A heavy man used the carts like a blind. Naomi read his shoulders, and the scuffs where he liked to clip the corner to chirp a wheel. She set one hand to the gate's chain, the other to her radio, and spoke for microphones and egos. "Gate 4 in service, awaiting authorization." Then she looked at the heavy one and said, "Don't." He did. He shoved hard. Naomi pivoted, let the cart yaw, and sent him sprawling into foam as trays rattled like hail. Trays skittered like cymbals across the slick floor. Lids spun, then settled with little metallic sighs. The heavy man sprawled in the foam, hands searching for purchase, mouth frothing bleach. One trustee froze with both palms welded to a stainless rim. The other blinked through suds, then looked to Naomi for permission no rulebook mentioned. "Step back, both of you," Naomi said. "Against the wall, knees bent. Don't move unless I say." They obeyed. Pritchard fed slack through the orange twine and kept the loop on his wrist open like a lifeline. Baines planted the mop like a flag and grinned at the chaos. Then he felt Duke's gaze and let the handle lower to horizontal, more staff than banner. The heavy man tried to stand. Naomi tapped his shoulder with the toe of her boot, not cruelly, just enough to reset his choice. "Lie still," she said. "You're going to live, and you're going to hate the paperwork." He spat foam. "You think you're funny?" "No," she said. "I think I'm necessary." Beyond gate 4, shadow moved again, a smudge that didn't resolve into a face. The camera dome's blank eyes stared. The alarm bleated its thin, complaining tone. Naomi knelt and righted a tray cart, wheels squealing in protest. She parked it sideways to make a waist-high barrier between her and the bend, then dragged its twin alongside until the two formed a shallow V with enough room for her shoulders and an exit channel at the narrow end. Steel, soap, and sound, she'd fought in worse corners. Duke stepped forward until foam lapped his shoes. "You build boats," he observed. "I build margins," she said. "Margins get squeezed. Only if the middle holds," she countered. The mouth breather wiped his face, then reached blindly for the foil square she'd kicked away. She flicked it farther with the baton's tip, then crushed it under the rubber boot end until paste squeezed and the little dream inside died harmlessly. "Not today," she said. From the laundry bend, a new rhythm replaced the tray rattle, metal scraping metal at a height knees would never reach. Naomi's eyes lifted to the ceiling track that once carried linen baskets down the corridor. The old track still held its pulleys, spaced like spine bones. A canvas sling slid along it now, suspended from reclaimed bearings and braided bedsheet rope. In the sling, wrapped tight as rice in a leaf, lay a man with a shaved head and eyes already searching for targets. He glided forward, knees tucked, wrists free. "Creative," Duke mused. Naomi raised the taser and fired both probes in a lazy arc. The top probe snagged canvas. The bottom found flesh. The line went taut. The sling pitched. The rider convulsed and dumped like laundry, hitting foam with a thud that took fight and breath together. The sling swung, returned, and kissed the ceiling with a squeal. Baines whistled. "She can read up and down. She can read weight," Duke said quietly. A small, hard sound cracked from beyond Gate 4. Naomi didn't flinch. That crack had the signature of a snapped ceramic tile, not a gunshot. The acoustic kept lying. She kept translating. She tightened the V of carts by a handspan, closing angles. "Pritchard," she said without moving her eyes, "the twine is not jewelry. If I tug, you come. If I say rope, you drop and slide." "Got it," he whispered. The two trustees watched wide-eyed. Naomi slid a tray lid into the foam like a sled and nudged it with her boot until it reached them. "Gentlemen," she said, "if anyone tells you to move, you hold onto that lid with both hands, and you say, 'Officer said stay,' then you repeat it until they believe you." The taller trustee swallowed. "Officer said stay." "Perfect," she said. "You just earned a safer minute." The heavy man rolled to his side and coughed until something ugly left him. He half sat, eyes dappling between rage and gratitude like fish in shallow water. "I hate bleach," he managed. "Add it to your autobiography," Naomi said, and checked the cabinet's pressure gauge with a glance. The needle trembled at the line she'd pinned it to, ready to scream at any yank on the manual chain. She wanted that scream in the right ears. A thin arm snaked out around the bend, fingers splayed, testing airflow, temperature, luck. The hand withdrew. The rhythm shifted again. Naomi smelled a new note under bleach, citrus cleaner, and beneath it, the medicinal sharpness of ethanol. Laundry had been repurposed into a still once. Maybe it had been repurposed again. Flammable schemes tended to be equal parts ambition and accident. "Duke," she said, "if your family lights anything with fumes in this corridor, they'll cook their own. Let's call that Plan C and go shopping for A and B." He tilted his head. "You think I want fire? I think you want leverage. Fire doesn't negotiate. It eats." He considered that, then nodded toward the dark dome. "You aiming this show for the tower? I'm aiming it for whoever can count," she said. "Numbers change behavior." He flashed that almost smile again. "Then count me." A new face appeared around the bend, narrow, tattoos climbing his neck like vines, pupils blown saucer-wide. He coughed into the foam and roared to mask his nerves, then charged with a length of rebar shaved to a skewer. Naomi didn't give ground. She stepped into the V's mouth, invited the rebar into the wedge between carts, trapped the shaft against steel, and twisted until the man's wrists followed his weapon into a position that told bones to listen. He hissed. She drove the tip down until it bit tile, then released and shifted right. The mouth breather lunged in the same instant, with a snapped toothbrush blooming razor. She lifted her left forearm to catch the cut on the vest's padded seam, turned her hip, and struck his thigh with the baton's cap. Deep, precise, a punch delivered by Oak. His leg buckled, his shoulder found foam. Someone behind them laughed high and fast, not Baines. That laugh had equilibrium issues. A lanky kid slid on his belly like he was stealing second base, hands outstretched for a tray lid he might turn into a shield. Naomi let him take it and watched his shoulders. He held it like a wall and breathed like a prayer. "Good choice," she said aloud, so the hallway could hear the reward. The camera dome clicked. A red LED flickered once, then went dark again, as if the system were trying to wake and decided to dream instead. Naomi took that as permission to adjust her plan. She reached into the cabinet, bridged the alarm to the far side strobe only, and silenced the corridor's bleat. Baines tilted his head. "Why so quiet?" "Because noise teaches the wrong lesson," she said. "Silence makes people listen." The corridor breathed. A long animal hush. In that hush, the laundry door rattled. Another sound layered over it. A steady metallic ticking from behind the cinder block, like a watch strapped to a pipe. Time never sleeps inside prisons. Sometimes it hums. "Steam tunnel," Pritchard whispered. Sweat drew crooked lines through dust on his temple. "They can open from below if they wedge the latch." Naomi nodded without looking. "Then we give them a welcome mat they won't like." She hooked the fishing line to the ladder rung at knee height, ran it across the threshold at ankle level, and anchored it on a tray hinge. Invisible in foam, deadly to balance, gentle enough to embarrass rather than maim. She palmed her radio and said in her normal shift voice, "Control, Yard 2 corridor. Gate 4 secured. Laundry approach congested. Request engineering eyes on steam sensors, code gray." Static hissed, then a voice she recognized as Soul from Control bled through, thinner than usual but alive. "Copy. Gate 4. Monitoring steam. Cameras cycling. Hold your spot." "Always intended to," she said, and slipped the radio back. Duke's eyes flicked at that sliver of contact. He filed it without comment. "If they come under, you can't wedge them all with clever string." "No," she said. "I'll wedge them with choices." The floor grate nearest the laundry door shuddered, hopped, then lifted as 4 fingers wormed under and levered it up. It rose 2 inches, Foam waterfalled into the dark. Naomi did not lunge. She waited for the moment when the arm extended, when the elbow became a lever she could own. The grate climbed to the height of a shin. The arm extended. She hooked the baton through the grate's lattice, pinned it to the floor with her boot and leaned. The arm trapped itself. She pressed just enough for the hand to relax. "Listen," she said, voice even. "You're smart enough to crawl a tunnel. Be smart enough to keep your bones intact. Push the grate down. Slide your arm back. I won't break what you need tomorrow." A beat. The fingers flexed, then obeyed. The grate settled. The arm withdrew. The foam closed over the seam like a tide reclaiming a sandcastle. Baines whispered, "You talk bones like you know them." "I do," she said, not offering a resume. The heavy man finally made it to his knees and leaned on the cart's rim. He looked at her with an expression that had nothing nice to say, and no choice but to say it anyway. "You didn't stomp my head," he muttered. "I don't waste boots," she said. The tall trustee swallowed again. "Officer said stay," he repeated, quieter, more certain. A thud echoed from the yard side, meaty, impatient. The silhouette beyond Gate 4 resolved at last into a face. Gaunt, eyes pale, scar scored from temple to chin. He pressed his brow to the bars like a supplicant. "Open," he breathed, barely sound at all. Naomi stepped to the glass, let him see her, then let him see the chain, the hydraulic ram, the gauge. She held his gaze until he blinked first. "Not today," she said, conversationally. "Today you learn patience." He smiled, a crack in cement. "Today you learn names." "I already knew yours," she said, and watched surprise make a brief home in his pupils. "You should pick a different hobby than carving your initials into tables." He laughed without humor and stepped back into shadow. The silence returned, heavier now, listening for its next cue. Naomi used it. She turned to Duke. "You still haven't told me what A and B are." He folded his hands as if in prayer, though no one in Brickwater would call it that. A is pressure without blood. B is embarrassment with a wide audience. His eyes flicked to the dome. "Both are dull," she said. "Try C, cooperation without theatrics." "You hate stories," he said. "I hate bad ones," she corrected. "Give me a clean scene change, and we all keep breathing." The laundry door clicked. The rhythm beyond adjusted. Less clank, more shuffle. New actors taking their marks. Naomi rechecked the V of carts, pulled the fishing line a hair tighter, and set the baton across her forearms like a musician resetting grip between songs. "Curtains up," Baines murmured, mostly to himself. "On your best behavior," Naomi replied, and angled her shoulders toward the bend where fresh trouble rehearsed its entrance. The laundry door edged open just enough for one shoe. A slight man stepped through with a folded towel over his forearm and glasses taped at the bridge. He took in foam, carts, twine shadows, and the sleeping camera dome. "Name?" Naomi asked. "Ledger," he said, and let a thin chain uncoil from the towel until links kissed the suds. He looped the free end twice around his wrist. "You've got time for measurements," Naomi said. "What are you buying?" "Certainty." Duke's grin was small. "Ledger prices mistakes." "That means he respects cost," Naomi replied. Ledger lowered the chain until it vanished, drew it back, weighed the drag. Flow leans toward laundry. Foam hides grit. Heels betray, toes keep. Pritchard tested his orange loop. "Still got you. You never lost me," she said. Above Gate 4, a return vent thudded. Someone there banged a sock of batteries to a slow beat. Ledger plucked a bent paperclip from his glasses, straightened it, slid it into mortar, and flicked a grain into the foam. It dimpled, vanished. He nodded at the cabinet. She wired the hydraulic to scream, not move. Enough noise might tempt keys. "Keys bring eyes," Naomi said. "Eyes bring weeks." The gaunt face beyond the bars sniffed. "Smells like lemon and fear." "Smells like work," she said. Ledger lifted the towel, revealing 4 spray bottles. The engineer knelt, case open, gloves bright against the grime. He clipped probes to the hydraulic brain, eyes narrowing at Naomi's improvised reroute. "You pinned the pressure sensor. Only way to stop a yank from buying freedom," she said. The supervisor nodded. "Clean work. Non-standard, but clean." Behind them, Duke leaned against the wall like a spectator at an opera. Ledger polished his glasses on the towel, chain swaying lazy from his wrist. Baines muttered. "Never seen maintenance actually move this quick." The engineer straightened. "We'll resync the pump and reset the alarms. 10 minutes. Naomi's gaze never left the prisoners. 10 minutes is a lifetime in Brickwater. The gaunt man at the gate chuckled. "Then let's live it." The corridor's foam thinned to streaks. The stench of bleach faded, replaced by steel sweat and breath. Every inmate stood in tableau, waiting, watching, deciding. Naomi held the center, baton low, taser warm, Radio crackling once, then silent. She addressed the gaunt man. You like names. Here's mine, Naomi Karim. Remember it the way you remember locks that don't open. His scar pulled when he grinned. Naomi, the family likes stories. Tonight they'll tell one. She stepped closer to the bars. Then tell it true. Say you tested me. Say you failed. Say you're alive because I let you be. His eyes sharpened. Let. Yes, I could have ended it when you pressed your face here. Instead, I gave you back your breath. Don't confuse choice with weakness. Silence draped the corridor. Even Ledger paused his quiet tinkering. Then Duke laughed, a low, rolling sound. She's right. Family wanted a crack. What we found is stone. Naomi didn't answer. She shifted stance, balanced, patient. The engineer finished his work. System stable, gate secure, cameras cycling clean. The supervisor looked at Naomi. We'll log this as attempted interference. She shook her head. Log it as correction. Interference suggests they owned a chance. The gaunt man spat. A dark mark on concrete. You win one corridor, officer. The family isn't finished. Naomi's reply was even. Neither am I. Baines leaned on his mop like a staff. Guess round 2 comes later. Guess so, she said. The engineer packed up. Control confirmed. All feeds online. Yard settling. Naomi surveyed the faces one last time. Ledger's calculating calm. Duke's amused patience. The gaunt man's simmering glare. Each carried their own lesson. Each carried unfinished intent. Back to cells, she ordered. No one moved at first. Then Duke pushed from the wall and motioned with his chin. Slowly, the others obeyed, foam sloshing as they withdrew toward laundry. Ledger coiled his chain, slipping it under the towel. Even the gaunt man stepped back, fading into shadow with one last look that promised the story wasn't done. Pritchard exhaled a tremor. We lived. Naomi adjusted her vest straps. We worked. Same thing. Not here. She radioed, voice steady. Control, Yard 2 corridor clear. Returning prisoners. Situation contained. Soul's voice answered, softer now. Copy. Good work, Karim. Naomi let the words hang, then turned to Pritchard. You held. That matters. Next time, hold sooner. He nodded, eyes down. The alarm was gone. The dome glowed. The corridor's echo calmed. Naomi rolled the empty cart back into place, her movements measured. Final. At the bars, Duke lingered a step longer than the rest. Officer Karim, he said, voice almost courteous. Family thought they could break you. Turns out they miscalculated. She met his gaze without blinking. They always will. Duke smiled faintly, then melted into the retreating line. Naomi stood alone in the corridor, baton resting easy, foam drying at her boots. Brickwater had tested her. The prisoners thought they could break her, but they had no idea who they faced.